This is a passage that most people just hear at weddings, just saying. But let's listen for us today, even though we're not getting married today, I don't think. But you can still hear the wisdom of this passage, as Paul writes to the church in Corinth. If I speak in the tongues of mortals and of angels, but do not have love, I'm a noisy gong or a clanging cymbal. And if I have prophetic powers and understand all mysteries and all knowledge, and if I have all faith so as to remove mountains, but do not have love, I am nothing. If I give away all my possessions, and if I hand over my body so that I may boast, but do not have love, I gain nothing. Love is patient, love is kind. Love is not envious or boastful or arrogant or rude. It does not insist on its own way. It is not irritable or resentful. It does not rejoice in wrongdoing, but rejoices in the truth. It bears all things, believes all things, hopes all things, endures all things. Love never ends. But as for prophecies, they will come to an end. As for tongues, they will cease. As for knowledge, it will come to an end. For we know only in part, and we prophesy only in part. But when the complete comes, the partial will come to an end. When I was a child, I spoke like a child. I thought like a child. I reasoned like a child. When I became an adult, I put an end to childish ways. For now we see in a mirror dimly, but then we will see face to face. Now I know only in part, then I will know fully, even as I have been fully known. And now faith, hope, and love abide, these three. And the greatest of these is love. May God add blessing to our hearing today. So some of you may know that one of the career paths that I was wrestling with before I heard the call to ministry was to be a math teacher. Our teachers are shocked, yay, right? But I really enjoyed math. I really enjoyed working with numbers, and I loved working with kids. It seemed like a perfect union of things. And the combination was really intriguing to me. And then I went to seminary and other things unfolded. But there's another part to this teaching gig that I found very attractive. And that's that you work like crazy for 9 or 10 months, and then you had 2 or 3 months off. You got to go on vacation. You got to travel, right? Traveling, seeing the world, all these amazing things, right? Oh, yeah. Aaron's back there going, yeah, right. So for you who are teachers, who have been teachers, forgive me for this naive view of things, but it sounded really good. Another thing about that is it sounded really balanced. I understand hard work. I'm good with that. And there was a balance of having time off to recreate, to get out into nature. And some of you know I enjoy doing that as well. So that was very attractive for me. It also fit with what I understood who God was. We said that God is creator. So it seems very clear to me that God's creating work didn't just stop with the Big Bang. Can I blend those two together for you, just for fun? Right? Or the creation of the universe, but God continues to create. And I myself always felt like I was being recreated into something new. And so for that piece, it made a lot of sense. And I understand that tomorrow I leave for 3 weeks of vacation, so this sermon may be slanted a little bit towards that, may work in there. But I'm also trying to practice what I preach. I have found it incredibly important to get away from my day in, day out work of being a pastor. I love it, but it needs balance. I found how important it is to be attentive to my own recreation, God's recreating within me, because that time, that rest, is incredibly important both to my sanity, but also to my own growth, my own development. So in many ways, I hope today is a call for all of us to care for ourselves, to let God care for us. That means body, mind, and spirit. And even as I say that, I am aware that many of us have never really heard that message or been able to embrace that message. How do we care for ourselves? How do we take downtime? How do we take time off? We live in a culture that is go, 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 work, 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 make, 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 build, 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 ad nauseum. We follow and celebrate leaders in this valley who work 80 hours a week and think it's great. And that gets into our bones. It gets into our DNA. And so we have to have that other voice that stands up in front of you and says, stop. It's okay to rest. It's important to let down. It's important to take a leisurely walk or to sit and just be quiet and watch the sunrise or the sunset. It's okay for us to be recreated by the creating one whose work never ends. And I can't help, or I couldn't help as I was writing this, but think of our bodies and our muscles and how we build muscle or keep muscle in your stage of life, right? But we work our muscles and they break down, and so we rest and they rebuild stronger. How do we get in on that work in our spirits? So we work and work and work, okay? But what about the rest? What about the letting down so that we can be recreated, so that we can be rebuilt, so that we can continue our growth? And one of the things that the institutional church and religion often miss is this idea of growth and development. When we are just told to accept the fundamentals of religion, just believe these 5 or 10 things and call it good and check those boxes off your list, that does not help our growth. That doesn't challenge us. It doesn't strengthen us. When a pastor stands up and says, go do this, go believe this, that doesn't encourage us in our growth. Asking questions does. Going on prayer walks and then talking about it, that does stretch us. Wrestling with ideas stretches us and causes us to grow. Talking and listening with others and really hearing somebody else's perspective, that helps us grow. And my consistent hope is that we as Westhope are always about growing and deepening and developing deeper and more profound understandings of things. And in that same spirit, I hope that all of us have better answers and deeper questions than we did when we were children, or even 5 years ago, or maybe even last month. I hope that we face into issues better than we did a couple years ago. I hope that we love more fully than we did last week. And all of this fits with the season of the church year, this liturgical year that we're in. The season of the church is where we take all the blessings, all the celebrations, all the understandings, all the wisdom of our sacred times from Advent to Pentecost. Notice the dove is now gone. Notice the red is gone, because now we're moving into what's called ordinary time. Or I like to spin that to extraordinary time. Because it's supposed to be a time of our growth. It's supposed to be a time of development. We take all those incredible pieces of Easter and Christmas and all, and we let them find a new home in us. We let those inspirations guide us now, so we're sent out as a blessing into the world, as light into the world, and we actually have some light to shine, some light to share, because we've integrated it into who we are. We can go out and we can proclaim the resurrection, hopefully, because we found a little bit of that resurrection within us. We found how that takes root in us so that we actually have something to share. And hopefully, like Paul's comments today, we find that love that God has for us, that remarkable, deep love for us, so we have something to share with others, so that we have love to give. It's a beautiful passage because it speaks of being able to do all kinds of amazing things, right? To prophesy, to love, to go into the world. But if we do not have love or are not connected to love or are drawing on love, it's empty. It's empty. We're like a clanging cymbal. Are you doing things with love? Have you grown in such a way that you can leave behind those ego needs, those ego things, making things about us, to get to that place where we can actually love fairly extravagantly, to really care for people, to really listen to them, to really welcome who they are without being worried about who I am and making sure they know about me. But I can honor them. This doesn't just happen. Paul, at the heart of this passage, talks about that growth and development. His words, when I was a child, I talked like a child. But when I became a man, I put behind my childish ways. That development takes time. It takes recreating who we've been to get more fully into who God longs for us to be. How are you being recreated in this season? I'm also convinced that death and resurrection is a process that happens within all of us all the time. Within that process, we need that time of recreation. We need time to interrupt our daily routines and the flow of our lives to make space for Spirit to break in. And that leads us to the other piece that we deeply need, which is talking about our spiritual recreation. What might you be doing to allow Spirit to recreate your spirit this summer? Maybe you take time to come to worship, and that's helpful. Maybe you take time for a walk in a beautiful place to pray. Maybe take extended time in the garden here at church, or walk the labyrinth, or go sit at the beach and listen to the roll of the waves. Maybe you plan a half-day prayer retreat. What's the longest time that you've prayed at one sitting over the last 6 months? Think of that number. Try doubling it this summer. If you pray for 10 minutes, 15 minutes, try doubling it to 30 and see what happens. Find a quiet place. Come sit in the sanctuary. It'll be open. It's quiet here. We have a new meditation room in the office. Go sit in the meditation room. Go sit and just listen to the fountain outside. Whatever works for you, but what does your spirit, what does your soul need to be refreshed, recreated, or enlivened this summer? It's a great season to check that out, to work on it. And I know some of us are big into metrics. What are the metrics for my growth here? How do I know I'm growing? Here's some ideas, just for fun. Do you sense yourself growing? That's a big one. And if you're not, what's getting in your way? How are you growing in love, patience, peace, or grace? How do your loved ones reflect that back to you? Would they say you're growing in love, patience, peace, or grace? How are you growing in your awareness of God's presence with you? How are you growing in your ability to discern? Do you feel like that's getting better or not? How are you growing in your ability not to let the world and its events disrupt your peace? That may be a challenging one in this season. How are you growing in your ability to separate your baggage from your interaction with others? What's yours? What's theirs? All these are challenging. Not saying any of them are easy. But they're fascinating questions to reflect on our growth. And one thing that I found that continually arises as I listen to people is it's hard for people to think about or have a quick answer to what refreshes you, what nurtures you, what helps with your own recreation or your continued creation. Think about these. It's okay, it's healthy for you to spend time, to have yourself recreated. And as I listen to people, that is one hard question for people to answer. What is it for you? And in this season, I challenge you to do it. Figure out the answer and try it. If it's sitting out back with a cup of wine, do it. Just one, right? Be mellow. But I want to make sure that you hear me say that it's healthy for you to wonder about your own care. It's important for you to wonder about your own care and how God cares for you through that. Burnout is real. Exhaustion is real. Stress often takes over because we don't care for ourselves regularly. What does your body need? What does your spirit need? What does your mind need to be recreated? And I also love the passage that Colette read because I think it's a beautiful benediction to send us into this world. I set before you the ways of life and of death, of blessing and of curses. Here they are. And God says, choose life. Choose life. Recreation helps us in this, choosing life. Maybe it's something like getting into nature in the garden. Maybe it is hiking and fishing. Maybe it's going into a quiet room with some paints or colors and just allowing yourself to doodle or be creative for a bit. Maybe it's going on a trip, either close or far, to a favorite place, or curling up with a favorite book, or going to a quiet dinner with a loved one, or going dancing with friends, or writing poetry. I don't know. The possibilities are actually endless. And they don't have to be exotic or dramatic or cost a fortune. But I want to encourage you today to find your way and do it. So may all of us find ways to partner with God's creating work within us and within our lives in this summer season. May all of us find ways to allow God to care for us more deeply, to recreate us, to refresh us, to renew our bodies, our minds, and our spirits. And I look forward to hearing your amazing progress in this in 3 weeks when I get back. So that's your assignment. Blessings to you on the journey. Amen. Amen. Amen.